Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.
This is WCBU's Out and About. I'm Dr. May Gilliland of Arts Partners of Central Illinois, and today I'm joined by Maestro George DeLuto of the Peoria Symphony Orchestra to talk about Handel at the Cathedral, taking place November 14th and 15th at St. Mary's Cathedral in Peoria. Maestro, welcome to Out and About.
Hi, great to be back.
Handel at the Cathedral offers a very intimate experience, and I'm curious what inspired this program.
Well, it's interesting because everybody thinks of the Messiah, the big oratorio, as Handel, and that's what they know him for. But there's all kinds of things that he did. He was very innovative. So we're doing a little Symphonia for 4 solo instruments, just one on a part, and I think people really like it. That kind of gives you a little bit of his intimacy that he can write for. And then we're doing an oboe concerto featuring our oboist in the symphony, and that's just gorgeous music. I mean, he had such a wide range of abilities, and he mixed international styles of the time. And then we're doing the water music, which is a lot of fun because it was originally written for a barge on the Thames for the King of England. And I think the original performance had something like 15 oboes and, 12 bassoons and everything. And we couldn't quite fit those numbers in the cathedral. So we know that when Handel started programming it for indoor concerts, he had to make adjustments and make it a more intimate program. But we don't really have a lot of examples of what he did. So that's been my job, is to kind of make it into a really wonderful, intimate evening of this great music without losing the energy and the joy of it.
How do you go about doing something like that?
Oh, you go through and, I go through the score and I'm like, well, I think I'll just have the oboes play right here instead of everybody. And then here I'm just going to use the brass. And so it's actually really cool because you get a wonderful mix of colors, and in the acoustics of the cathedral, it plays very well. It's almost like you've turned the orchestra into an organ and you're just pulling out stops and pushing others in. And so it's very colorful.
You've mentioned the venue, St. Mary's Cathedral. It's gorgeous, for one. For those who've not attended a concert in there before, what can they expect? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's a beautiful setting. The first time we played in there, I know the musicians showed up for the rehearsal and they looked around and like, we get to play in here? And so it's just this gorgeous setting. I find the acoustics to be very warm in there. When you're rehearsing in there, they're quite live, but when you have a crowd of people in there, then it settles in just to kind of the perfect acoustic.
And water music is probably going to be the piece that most people are familiar with, but even if they've experienced it in concert before, I can imagine you've done something a little bit different with it this time for them to experience it anew.
Oh, yeah. So with Baroque music, you often get a harpsichord to play the continuo part. But in the Baroque era, they didn't always use the harpsichord. They basically used what they could. So there's usually a cello or a bass playing the bass line, and then the cembalo part, the chords are filled in by something like the harpsichord. But this time, we're going to be featuring somebody who plays the lute and the theorbo. And the theorbo is just like a giant lute. And people will see, I know they're going to come in and sit down and they're going to see this giant thing with this neck that's like 4 or 5 feet long. And they're going to be like, what is that? So we're actually going to ask him to do a little demonstration of the theorbo.
That is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that, actually.
That was Maestro George DeLuto of the Peoria Symphony Orchestra speaking about Handel at the Cathedral, happening November 14th and 15th at St. Mary's Cathedral in Peoria. Maestro, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Out and About, a production of WCBU and Arts Partners of Central Illinois, designed to connect you with the arts community. Our producer is John Norton. Find this episode at WCBU.org and subscribe to the Out and About podcast wherever you download.
Support for arts and culture coverage on WCBU comes from PNC Financial Services. PNC is committed to supporting local art and culture events in the communities they serve.